Thank you all for coming to our county. And my name is Zach Van Sickle. I was born and raised here in Dover, Ohio, Dover/New Philadelphia, Ohio. My question is to all of you up there. As a potential member of the United States House of Representatives, hypothetically, if there was a bill that came to the House floor for a vote, and this bill was reasonable, ethical, and above all constitutional, perhaps you were even a sponsor or co-sponsor of this bill, but through the political process, there were unreasonable, unethical, and above all, unconstitutional amendments attached to it. Would you vote to pass this bill?
Yeah, I would vote not to pass that bill because, if you make a pan full of brownies and you put a couple turds of dog turd in there and you make that brownie mix and then bake it, it's only got a little bit of dog turd in it, but I don't want to take a chance on eating any of that brownie, okay? But like you said, every bill's got to be constitutional. It's got to be lined up. It's got to be lined up with our values. But if you have to do backroom dealings and half the bill's good and half the bill's bad, then I say half the bill's bad. Like this healthcare plan, I don't even think I would have had to read the whole thing, because once you start going through some of it, you could already tell it was bad. You could just throw it away and say, this is crap. I need to not vote for it.
Every member of Congress takes an oath of office to the Constitution, and first and foremost, everything has to be looked at through that lens. If a bill is unconstitutional or a provision that's added to it is unconstitutional, it's the obligation of your representative to vote it down. We don't live in a representative democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. We have God-given rights that say that the government can go so far, no farther, because you have rights that are given to you by your Creator that the government cannot infringe upon. And the Constitution lays those down, and our elected officials take an oath of office to the Constitution that they're going to uphold those rights, that they're going to protect your individual rights. And so that has to be the first and the last stopping point. If it's unconstitutional, it needs to be voted down.
Well, first of all, I don't want to come over to Bo Brumberg's house for brownies anytime soon. Let me just say that I carry the Constitution right here in my pocket, closest to my heart, because I believe in our Constitution. I'm not a constitutional expert, and ultimately it's up to the Supreme Court to interpret that. But before any piece of legislation comes forward, there is a review to see if it's legal or not, subject to the interpretation of those attorneys that review it. I've seen a lot of unethical practices. I've spent much of my professional career addressing those. I don't tolerate them. When I was with the Department of Agriculture, it came to our attention that people were cheating with their livestock exhibitions, the 4-H and FFA, at the county fairs and the state FFA, or the state fair. People said, don't open this can of worms. This has been going on for years. But I did, because it wasn't right. And people said, you're going to ruin our shows. I said, no, we're going to save your shows. And we had 16 felony convictions the first year. We sent people to prison for what they were doing. And now we have some of the best shows in Ohio. I believe I'm an ethical person. I believe in doing things right. And if I had more than a minute and a half, I would tell you what's happened to me since I filed by the political bosses in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Well, to answer the question, even if it was the bill that was most important to me, that if I authored a bill that I felt like this is the essential bill for my purpose in being on Capitol Hill, and by the time it got to the time to vote, if it was full of unconstitutional or had an unconstitutional provision attached to it, I would vote no on it. This is what, thank you. That's what Ron Paul just did with his Audit the Fed bill just recently. He authored a bill. It's a good idea. We need to audit the Fed. I think that that's something that we should be supporting. When by the time it got there, it was full of all kinds of garbage. He wouldn't even vote yes on his own bill. That's what I believe. The Constitution, bottom line, 55 men worked many, many months to produce a piece of document that made our country the most prosperous, innovative, and freest culture that's ever existed in world history. It's 4 pages long. It doesn't take a lot of work to review that document on a daily basis, read books, and become pretty educated on what is right and wrong from the principles of our founding fathers. And I think it's the responsibility of every representative to do it. I already do it, and I'll continue to do it, and that's the foundation I'll stand on.
I'd love to share with people that the problems in America are not legislative, they're not political, they are moral. Andre likes to talk about the Constitution. We all like the Constitution. But you know, the Lord gave us 10. He gave us 10 things to follow. Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet. What if we just started with those 3 things? Folks, look, our problems are we are sending unprincipled people to Washington, D.C. We send unprincipled people to Washington, D.C., and then we're shocked when they're unprincipled. In fact, we have a president of the United States who blatantly lies, and we all laugh, say, well, we expect it. He's a politician. At some point, we are going to have to stand up, and we are going to have to demand honesty and accountability from the people that we send to Washington, D.C. As Andre so clearly spelled out, they put all kinds of pork into those bills, and so all of a sudden you ended up voting on something that you didn't really mean to vote. They box you in. I want to go over there, and I'm just going to say it. I want to scare people on both sides of the aisle. Now listen, do I scare you a little bit? I think that's a good thing. I think that's what we need in Washington, D.C. A man who's not afraid to speak the truth, but demand the truth. Until we change honesty in America, we'll be having elections like this forever and ever. Thank you.